might want to have something to say.
Perfect.
Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. So we were just talking, Shailesh and myself, about what might be done to take note with love and honor of the great contribution to American Vedanta that was made by Swami Yogeshananda. Many of you are familiar with what he did here, but there's much more to the story. He not only contributed here, he contributed in other centers, and was a great contributor to the literature, including his wonderful book, Six Lighted Windows, followed by a smaller book, Four Lighted Windows. So all of that will be taken note of with love and appreciation when the chapters are written on the development of Vedanta in America, particularly the book that is written in the West, Swami Yogeshananda's contribution will be taken great note of. He was a great favorite of the Swami who sent me here, Swami Swahananda. Swami Swahananda admired him greatly. His courage, his ability to plan and work hard to get this center going. And so each summer, practically every summer, Swami Yogeshananda was an honored guest at the Vedanta Society of Southern California. Anything else from anyone before we move on? All right, dears. As we know, we're working our way through all of these wonderful reminiscences of various swamis about Holy Mother and her contribution to many things, especially the foundation and early success of the Ramakrishna Matan mission, the Ramakrishna order of monastics. So we've come to Swami Nikhilananda. For those of you who are wondering, if you are wondering what page we're on, 399. Swami Nikhilananda wrote, Holy Mother was a source of unfailing inspiration to the members of the Ramakrishna Math mission, and showered her blessings upon all who renounced the world inspired by the Master's teachings. She had felt the need of a religious organization. She had felt the need of a religious organization for the purpose of preaching the Master's teachings and giving them practical shape, and also for affording shelter to the monks, where they could be assured of food, clothes, and other simple necessities of life. And if you remember, there was a reminiscence earlier about her praying to the Master very earnestly that her children, her boys, should not be left to wander, but have a place where they could have shelter and food and clothing. And she often would make a gift of an ochre cloth or other clothing to these boys as they joined the order. So where they could be assured of food, clothes, and other simple necessities of life. After the establishment of the Matan mission, she became its spiritual center. And let us take that very seriously. When Swami Nikhilananda writes this or says this, he's not just making a gesture. She really was at the center, although she was always retiring and modest, particularly when she was in Calcutta. She was constantly at the center of all important decisions. To continue with the Swami. During her lifetime, she kept her eyes on the monks to see that they faithfully discharged their duties. Like Swami Vivekananda, she looked on the organization as the visible body of Sri Ramakrishna, and its every part as one of his own limbs. She gave freedom to the monks to develop their inner potentialities in their own way, but did not shrink from severity when such an attitude was found necessary. Once Yoganma told Swami Saradeshananda, whatever mat and ashrama centers you see, whatever mat and ashrama centers you see around are the outcome of Holy Mother's grace. Wherever she visited any deities, she prayed with tearful eyes, Master, please create a shelter for my children to live in and arrange a little food for them to eat. The mother's prayers have been fulfilled. So that was Swami Nikhilananda's reminiscence. Now, on the way from Jairambati to the trek back and forth from Jairambati to Calcutta during Mother's lifetime, which was a difficult one. There were no roads, there were no railways, there was just there was a track, so to speak. So an ashrama was established not too far away from Jairambati, and it was called Koalpura. And so the subhead is at Kualpura Ashram. Kualpura village is located 4 miles north of Jairambati on the route between Vishnupur and Jairambati. When Holy Mother began to travel by train from Calcutta, she would stop at the Vishnupur station and then take a bullock cart to Jairambati. She would break her journey at Koalpura Ashrama, which she called her parlor, her resting place. Kedarnath Datta, a local school teacher, started Koalpura Ashrama with a few young men. They practiced meditation and read the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavata and the Ramakrishna Vivekananda literature. They became drawn to Holy Mother and eventually took initiation from her. Now it's interesting that this ashrama was not started as a deliberate act of Mother. It started by these young men so that they could practice spiritual disciplines, do spiritual practices. And then they became drawn to Holy Mother and eventually took initiation from her. When the Mother was in Jairambati, many Calcutta devotees visited her. The young men from Koalpura carried groceries, vegetables, and other necessities to her. In addition to their spiritual practices, these young men were involved in the freedom movement against the British, and the police had an eye on this ashrama. The ashrama also had a weaving school, a primary school, a charitable dispensary, and a small orphanage. Can you imagine? These young men were so industrious and so much followers of Vivekananda's teachings. They had established a weaving school, a primary school, a charitable dispensary, and a small orphanage. While Holy Mother and Swami Saradananda encouraged their philanthropic activities, they did not approve of any revolutionary activities. When Kedar approached Holy Mother for sannyasa, she was reluctant to confer it because he was his mother's only son. Moreover, his health was not good. He suffered from asthma from time to time. However, his mother gave him permission for sannyasa and asked a boon from the mother that she might die before her son. Her desire was later fulfilled. Holy Mother gave the ochre cloth to Kedar. Rajan, somebody say that word.
Amulya.
Okay.
Amulya, brother.
Thank
Amulya.
you. Adrulia and Kishori.
Kish.
They were apparently the 4 that started the Koalpura Ashram. They later took formal sannyasa at Belur and became Swami Keshavananda, Vidyananda, Dhyanananda, and Parameshwarananda, respectively. Afterwards, Bharada, Gagan, and somebody again say that word, please. Rame took initiation from the mother and became monks. They were known as Swami Isharananda, Ritajananda and Gatishwarananda, respectively.
Gaurishwarananda.
Say it again.
Gaurishwarananda.
Gaurishwarananda, thank you. Thus, Holy Mother began to recruit monks into, so I'm flipping past some pictures. I'm sorry, I missed something. Thus, Holy Mother began to recruit monks into the Ramakrishna order. Keshavananda donated his parental home near Kualpura Ashrama to build Jagadamba Ashrama, where Holy Mother stayed on several occasions for long periods at a time. If we remember, we read about that. It had to do with Radhu's ailment and her inability to tolerate any sound, any loud sound. In 1911, Holy Mother installed pictures of Ramakrishna and herself in Kualpura Ashrama and worshipped both pictures with flowers and sandal paste. She asked Kishori to perform a homa, or fire ceremony, on that occasion. In 1918, Kualpura Ashrama became affiliated with the Ramakrishna Matan mission. So before Mother passed away, it had become part of the Matan mission. Although Holy Mother hid herself behind a veil, she had a dynamic personality. Her divine personality, by the way, today is Saraswati Puja. Today is Holy Mother's special day. She was an incarnation, according to the Master, of Saraswati. And you'll see that on the little shrine here, there is a picture of her and some flowers and so on. So a little something was done earlier today in observance of that.
Well, Shankara, I was just going to bring that up.
Well, good. Okay. Well, it was recognized and observed. And then after the puja, little puja this morning, then of course the Chandi hymns were read. Always read to her, not just read, but read to Holy Mother. Although Holy Mother hid herself behind a veil, she had a dynamic personality. Her divine personality and inspiration produced wonderful monks for the Ramakrishna order. The monks came from various parts of India and from different castes, social positions, and backgrounds. Holy Mother always emphasized friendship and brotherly love as the cement necessary to strengthen the organization. And in that, she had the greatest of allies in Swami Brahmananda, the president of the order. That was his way of being and governing also as the president of the order. Friendship and brotherly love as the cement necessary to strengthen the organization. She reminded the monks that mutual love and respect, purity and renunciation, humility and obedience are essential for the monastic organization. Although she knew that it was necessary to maintain discipline in a monastery, Holy Mother disapproved of any unnecessary harshness or excessive exercise of authority. Both she and Brahmananda were temperamentally opposed to a lot of formal rules and regulations, and we're used to that kind of thing from the Western Catholic monastic orders. The brahmacharya vows for the Ramakrishna order are only 13, and they're all pleased to, they are all prayers to Sri Ramakrishna to help with the various aspects of living a life as a renunciate, a monastic. Beyond that, there are a few rules and so on, primarily devised by the Swamis Vivekananda and Shivananda. And I don't know what's happened, since then. I just know that's how it was. She disapproved, Holy Mother disapproved of any unnecessary harshness or excessive exercise of authority. Swami Keshavananda, the head of Koalpura Ashram, was a hard taskmaster and demanded strenuous labor from the monastic workers, some of whom were his students. He often acted like a dictator over the center and was negligent in giving the monks proper food and care. As a result of this ill treatment, some of the ashrama members left to take shelter under Holy Mother or Swami Saradananda. Keshavananda lodged a complaint to the mother, saying, "Mother, my workers formerly always obeyed me. Now it seems they have become smart. They don't always carry out my orders. They know they can find shelter with you or Swami Saradananda. You give them affection and good food too. If you and the Swami do not keep them with you, but return them to me, I shall be able to keep them under control." Stunned by these words, the mother said, "What is the matter with you? What do you mean? Love alone is the essential thing. The Master's organization is growing only through love. I am their mother. How impudent you are to make such a caustic comment to me about their food." Keshavananda was quite austere and frugal. He did not want to spend money on healthy food, even when the monks were suffering from malarial fever. In Koalpura Ashrama, they would offer to the master rice and a vegetarian dish with spinach, which the monks afterwards partook of as prasad. Generally, the monks of Koalpura brought vegetables and groceries to Jairambati, but once they did not show up for a couple of weeks. Concerned, Holy Mother sent her maid to investigate and learned that they were all suffering from malaria. She dictated a letter to Radu for Keshavananda and sent it through her maid Nidu. "Dear Kedar, I have installed the master at Koalpura. The master used to eat rice and fish also. So I tell you, please offer rice and fish at least on Saturdays and Tuesdays and not on Sundays, and a minimum of the 3 kinds of vegetables. If they practice severe austerities without good food, how will the monks fight malaria? She was extremely practical. If monks are physically weak, how will they serve the order? The mother later indignantly told Keshavananda, "What is this? How can you run this ashrama through shrewd manipulation? Those boys may be your students, but if you scold your own children too much, they will leave you." The mother was fond of Keshavananda for the mother was fond of Keshavananda for his dedication, and he also was very devoted to her. But the mother did not indulge any inappropriate requests from her disciples. Once at Kualpura, when Holy Mother was staying with Radu, Keshavananda reported to her that his workers were not obeying him and wanted to go elsewhere. He wanted her to persuade them to stay in Kualpura and asked her to see that they did not find shelter in any other ashrama. Angrily, the mother replied, "How dare you ask me to speak to the monks this way? Do you mean to say they should not be allowed to find accommodation anywhere else? They are my children and have taken shelter with the master. Wherever they go, the master will look after them. And you want to extract a promise from me that they will not find shelter at any other place? I can never utter any such a promise." Everyone was frightened by her loud voice and reddened face. Everyone was frightened by her loud voice and reddened face. Keshavananda at once fell at Mother's feet and begged her forgiveness. Although Holy Mother admonished the head of the Kualpura Center, she also advised monastic workers to adjust to the community life. One day in Jairambati, she told a brahmachari, "Look, monks in the ashrama should live together, adjusting to each other. The master used to say, 'Forbear, forbear, forbear.' The master used to say, 'Forbear, forbear, forbear.' Have patience and forbearance in all situations. The master is looking after you." Despite various difficulties in ashrama life, Holy Mother always encouraged monks to live together harmoniously and work sincerely for the master. Because the Ramakrishna Order is an international organization, Holy Mother always inspired monks to learn English well so that they could communicate with foreigners. One day, Keshavananda said to the mother, "Mother, all of your children are highly educated except a few like us." Swami Saradananda wrote the biography of the master, Sri Ramakrishna Lila Prasanga, and is spreading his message. Your other children are also giving lectures and doing so many things. The mother replied, "What are you saying? The master did not have much education. The main thing is to keep the mind on God. A great deal of work will be done through you in this part of the country. All these boys do so many errands for me. This time the master has come to liberate all. This time the master has come to liberate all, the rich and the poor, the literate and the illiterate. The Malaya breeze is blowing. Those who unfurl the sail reach the destination, and those who take refuge in him will be blessed. Don't worry. You are my own people. However, learned monks are like ivory covered with gold. That last is so sweet. Don't worry, you are my own people. However, learned monks are like ivory covered with gold. When the monks faced a dilemma, they sought Holy Mother's advice. Koalpura Ashrama had a charitable dispensary. Some people took advantage of the ashrama by accepting the medicine, though they had the means to pay for it. The head Swami did not like this, so he sought the mother's permission to discontinue giving medicine to these people for free. With a charitable outlook, the mother replied, all seekers of help are considered to be needy, so keep the door of the dispensary open to all. When he was asked a similar question, Swami Prabhavananda had a very simple answer. When you are asked, give. When you are asked, give. And in thinking about it, it was clear that he meant, don't take it upon yourself to judge the worthiness of the person asking. So this is the same, it just reflects mothers. All seekers of help are considered to be needy, so keep the door of the dispensary open to all. Holy Mother encouraged the monks to work, and at the same time she cautioned them not to be egoistic and narrow-minded while managing the center. She warned them against inordinate attachment to the monastery or entanglement in activities that might interfere with their spiritual practices. One day she scolded Swami Tanmayananda, is that right? Tanmayananda?
Yes.
Because of his unique involvement in the ashrama activities. She said, you have renounced the world to repeat God's name. Now you are involved with too many activities. The ashrama has become your second world. People come to the monastery having given up their families, but they become so attached to the monastery that they do not want to give it up. Quoting a Bengali proverb, she added, a man eager to keep away from acidic food. A man eager to keep away from acidic food builds a home under a tamarind tree. The blessing of a divine being never fails. And once again, let us have ears to hear. The blessing of a divine being never fails. The mother's blessing is on us. The blessing of a divine being never fails. Holy Mother always thought about the monks' welfare. Once in Jairambati during Durga Puja, the monks and the devotees offered flowers at her feet. When they were finished, she said to Brahmachari Bharata, bring some more flowers and offer them while mentioning the names of Rakal, Tarak, Sharat, Koka, Yogin, and Gola, and offer flowers on behalf of any known and unknown children in the world. it's probably a pretty good place to stop. See if there are any comments or questions. Anything at all about what's been read or anything else?
Brother Shankara, I have one question.
Yes, Sham.
Did Holy Mother ever visit Baranagor ashram, or not
No,
even
no.
ashram, the place where the monks initially stayed in the very early stage?
There's no record that I can remember, and she was during the time that they were there. She was living in Kamarpukur, if you remember. So and there was not much, if any, communication between those monks at Baranagor and the mother. And then many of them led the lives of wandering sadhus for a while. It wasn't that she wasn't aware of them, of course, being the Divine Mother and having her divine sight, but she was occupied in her own way, which is very mysterious. This period of purification that happened while she was living at Kamarpukur. So there's no record of her ever having anything to do with the Baranagor Mat.
Because those people, those disciples at that time had a extremely tough life. No food at all. The living place was terrible, and they had to go through all the difficulties at that time.
Yes, and Mother was going through her own difficulties in Kamarpukur. So it was a time of testing for all of them. Could they bear the Master's weight or not?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anything else from anyone?
I want to share a thought here about Keshavananda and his behavior with the fellow monks. And I mean, I cannot, I don't have to say anything about his treatment, but what I see a similar mindset of people around me and in our friends and family is that people go to extreme. Some of them are so extravagant about money that they spend so much. And on one side, some people are so frugal that among my friends, I see this. And some people will control and will only spend money. They think it's important and will not consider people who are subordinates to them or family members. I see this all the time, and I just tell myself that, the money we have to be balanced in every possible way. If you're making good money, you donate. You also no attachment to money. Spending money pleasure-oriented activities. It's not something you should do. This is just my opinion, but that's what I try to tell myself, that being balanced and being in the center is so important.
Very well said. And every one of those people on both sides of that equation that you just described could take instruction from Holy Mother about being, as you say, balanced. But most of all, being loving and compassionate. Loving and compassionate.
True.
It's better to err on the side of love and compassion than on the side of austerity. And this is why, as we heard, Keshavananda was scolded more than once for his lack of compassion, lack of fellow feeling for those who he supervised. He was trying to get a great deal for a very little, and Mother really let him have it for it. As was said a little bit back. At one point, her voice was so loud and her face was so red, it frightened people. I'm sure that when Mother became that agitated, it must have been awesome. This is Bhadra Kali. This is the, bordering on the terrible form of the Mother. So after flowers had been offered to her, she said, offer more, while mentioning the names of Rakal, Tarak, Sharat, Koka, Yogan, and Golabma, and offer flowers on behalf of all my known and unknown children in the world. Don't you feel that may include us? Of course it does. Afterwards, she remained silent for a while, with folded hands, looking at the picture of the Master. Then she prayed, Master, bestow welfare on everyone in this life and the next. Please look after them. Afterwards, she remained silent for a while, with folded hands, looking at the picture of the Master. Then she prayed, Master, bestow welfare on everyone in this life and the next. Please look after them.
And it's so amazing that he does. Just calling on him.
Yes, the promises are there. I am
Yeah.
the refuge, he says. I am the refuge. Take
And
refuge
just,
in me.
yes.
Without question thou shelterest us, and the world's great sea in its wrath seems shrunk to the puddle that fills a hoofprint in the clay.
When I just look back, I just wonder, how did he you just have to just by saying his name, all the miseries in your life
are transformed, yes. It doesn't mean they go away,
yes.
but they are
You,
transformed, and our relationship to our difficulties is transformed.
they don't drown you. Sorry.
Breaker of this world's chain. He came, as she said, to liberate everyone this time. Everyone who accepts the invitation. The Lord will never insist. In 1918, during her birthday celebration, the mother accepted flower offerings from monks and devotees in Udbodhan house. When everyone had left, she said to Brahmachari Bharata, "Today is an auspicious day. Please offer flowers on behalf of the monks and devotees of Koalpura and Jairambati." Then she prayed to the Master to bless them all. The next subhead is Holy Mother and her disciples. Well, before we go on to the next subject, anything at all else from anyone about what we just read about the development of the Kualpura ashrama and Mother's intense involvement, even with the smallest details of, I mean, when the monks were sick with malaria, she took the trouble to find out and do corrective action, so on. Anything else? All right.
Well, Brother Shankar, I had a question.
Yes, Divya.
Well, it sort of it came up like at one point when you were reading, and it was about Radhu. And I always just every time I read about her in the Gospel of Holy Mother, it's such a I don't know how to even call that relationship. It's it's like she's so willful on the one hand with Mother,
Mm-hmm.
but then Mother is so loving, and just bears the blows, because she just takes it upon herself to raise this girl who's who has serious emotional imbalances,
and neurological issues, yes.
and her mother and so on. I forget their relation. I think she was her niece.
Yes.
So I just wanted to hear about your thoughts on her and Holy Mother.
The master was very clear that Radhu was the yoga maya, the maya that would bind the mother, that would unite the mother with the relative plane, because her tendency was to fly away. So the master said, this will be created, this relationship will be created in order to bind you here. And it worked. The mother cooperated totally and gave her heart and her well-being, her she just gave herself to taking care of Sarala and Radhu, especially Radhu. And it was a necessary thing. It was a necessary thing. Otherwise, the mother would not have been able to hold herself on the relative plane. This is what was said by Sri Ramakrishna. And so he created this relationship in order to hold the mother's attention on the relative plane. And so this intensity of this relationship, everything else was relatively easy for the mother, but her efforts with her brothers were also tedious, but and some others, but by and large, everything was easier than her relationship with Radha.
Yeah, it's she's said at one point, I think she said, it must be something I did. And I just
how could the mother of the universe think like that, huh?
But it's so like her too, because she's She's always self-effacing.
Yes. All right, the next subhead is Holy Mother and her
Shankara?
disciples.
Brother Shankara,
Yes.
this is Vijay. I just want to give a brief thought on the topic we just spoke about, mother. I believe that she was a mother in true sense, in the highest sense, like any mother who has a child born crippled or with immune deficiency or any difficulty. The mother does not give up on the child. The mother cares and gives even more attention to that child than her other children. So in that sense, mother was a true mother in the highest sense.
I think we can agree with you entirely, Vijay, that mother was the very embodiment of the idea and ideal and practice of motherhood. Yes, she was the highest. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the subhead is Holy Mother and her disciples. Holy Mother's love was so deep and so rare. Now we remember now, this is Chaitanananda speaking now. This is Chaitanananda writing. Holy Mother's love was so deep and so rare that those who lived with her felt it even in her actions. Once in Jairambati, Brahmachari Jnana, later Swami, Jnanananda, is that what it right? In any event, somebody say the word. Swami.
Jnanananda, Brother Shankara.
Say it again. Say it.
Swami Jnanananda.
Jnanananda, okay. Brahmachari Jnana, later Swami Jnanananda, had such a severe case of eczema that he could not feed himself. While he was sick, the mother fed him and then removed his leaf plate for him. Brahmachari Rash Bahari, later Swami Aruparananda, was busy with the construction of Holy Mother's new house in Jairambati. One day he went to a neighboring village to do some errands, but he did not return before lunch. It was a short winter day. He returned a few hours before evening and heard that the mother had not had her meal, but was instead waiting for his return. He rushed to her and remonstrated. Mother, your health is not good. Why have you been fasting all this time? The mother replied, my son, how can I eat when you have not eaten? Rash Bahari immediately sat for his meal. So the mother and other women devotees could take their food. How many mothers in this world would treat their children in this way? In Jairambati and Koalpura, the mother lived a normal life among the villagers, free from the routines and restrictions of Calcutta. In 1911, Saradananda sent a young monk named Prakash to escort Holy Mother from Jairambati to Calcutta. On the way to Calcutta, the mother stopped at Koalpura. She wanted to walk with Keshavananda's mother to her house, but Prakash wanted her to go by palanquin. This upset Holy Mother, and she scolded him. Look, this is a village, and I regard the ashrama as a part of my home. These boys are my own people. I want to lead a free life in Koalpura. I give a sigh of relief here to be free from my cage in Calcutta. There you keep me confined, and I am always cautious about my movements. I simply will not be controlled here at every step. If you like, you may write to Shart about it. The monk immediately begged forgiveness. That evening, Prakash hurried the local monks to prepare Mother's supper so they could resume their journey quickly. The mother said to him sternly, "Why are you losing your temper and yelling at these monks? This is a village. Here everything does not move according to the clock like in Calcutta. Don't you see how these boys have been working tirelessly since morning? Whatever you may say, we shall not start before eating." The mother had so much feeling for the monks. Finally, she left for Vishnupur by bullock cart at 8 o'clock. On 31 January 1917, the mother left for Jairambati from Calcutta. On her way, she stayed at Jagadamba Ashrama for a couple of days and then continued her journey. A few days before Ramakrishna's birthday, Brahmachari Bharata brought some groceries for the mother by bicycle from Koalpura. The mother gave him some prasad and asked him to stay at Jairambati that day, as there was a thunderstorm imminent. But Bharata did not listen to Holy Mother because he had some duties in Koalpura. On his way back to Koalpura, he was caught in a hailstorm and suffered terribly. He walked the rest of the way back to Koalpura with his bicycle along the muddy path. That night he had a fever. The next day, Holy Mother sent her maid with a letter to Koalpura to get news of Bharata. When he visited Holy Mother in Jairambati a few days later, she said, "You were stubborn and did not listen to me. I was worried about you when you left. I suffer when someone does not listen to me and gets into trouble. My son, you should listen when someone advises you from the heart. My son, you should listen when someone advises you from the heart." Okay, it's 8:59. We won't start the next subhead. The next subhead is Holy Mother as Guru. Is there anything that anyone would like to say or offer, or any question that you might want to ask? Well, Swami Chaitanananda is doing his best to portray the mother's breadth, her depth, her unfailing concern for all. Of course, he's telling the story of her life at that time, but he's also giving us, as the mother says here at the last, advice from the heart. Offer yourself to Holy Mother as her child. Develop that relationship with her as her child, as her servant, as whatever it is that appeals to you. But have a relationship with the mother, because she is our very own. That's what she said. That's what the master said. That's what Vivekananda said. It's what Raja Maharaj said. And I remind you that even during her lifetime, this was in 1905, 1906, after Swami Trigunatitananda had finished the temple in San Francisco, what is now called the Old Temple. He would sometimes come out to speak on a Sunday morning, and he would become choked up and wouldn't be able to speak for some time. Tears would flow down his cheeks. Why? Because Mother would appear halfway around the world to her beloved son. They had a very sweet relationship. Would appear and sit on the bench at the back of that chapel in the old temple and listen to his talk. Anything else from anyone before we close?
I have to go back to the exchanges about Mother and Radu. I think I maybe misinterpreted some of it. But thank you for, pointing out that that was Sri Ramakrishna's, to keep her anchored in the relativity. That was very helpful.
Yes. But all of these great ones are still available to us. Many people have had experiences of the mother. Many. Many people have had experiences of the master. Many have had experiences of Swami Vivekananda and of Raja Maharaj. They haven't gone anywhere. They're just as the master said to the mother when she was beginning to mourn his passing from the body. He said, "What are you doing? I haven't gone anywhere. I'm just behind the curtain. I'm just in the next room."
That's so true. You just feel their vibration all around you.
If you focus on them and let it happen, yes, indeed. If you divorce your mind from other distractions, you will feel them. So let us celebrate the mother on her special day, Saraswati Puja. It's good to look into who Saraswati is as this emanation of the Divine Mother, the divine itself. Music, science, literature, so much has changed in the world. There's been it's just astounding what has happened since the middle of the 19th century when Mother appeared, and the early part of the 21st century where we're living now. So let there be peace in outer space. Let there be peace in the sky, on the earth, and in the waters. Let there be peace in the herbs, the plants, and the trees. May the gods be peaceful. May the whole universe be pervaded by peace. Let that infinite universal peace prevail throughout my being. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. All right, until the next time we meet, the next opportunity, of course, will be tomorrow evening for our study of Swami Vivekananda's Jnana Yoga. Then on Saturday, there will be the class on Realizing God, that collection of Swami Prabhavananda's talks. And then on Sunday, the talk will be on chapter 3 of the Gita, a close inspection of what Sri Krishna tells us about how to behave in this world, the yoga of action. So, until then, any final thoughts from anyone? All right, dear ones.
Shankara.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
See you again soon.
Good night. Thank you.
Jai, 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 Jai Ma.